Hello, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Immigrant Magazine Weekly. I'm Pamela Anchang. I have a special guest for you, attorney and immigrant advocate Juan José Gutiérrez, Executive Director of Unidos, USA. Now, he has very important knowledge about immigration, immigrants, and the elections. But before we continue, please subscribe right now and be sure to click the button, ring the notification bell, and also the like button so you too will share these videos. Now, this is what we're going to be talking about: the situation facing immigrants today and what is at stake in these elections. He has a message you won't want to miss. Just a tip: he called the president liar in chief. Stay tuned. So welcome to the show, Juan Jose.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's always been my pleasure. You know, the last time we had a conversation, we were on the radio on KPFK 90.7 FM, and we talked about the value of the electoral process, and we talked about which party was better, the Republican or the Democratic. We had a team, and it was a riveting conversation, and I want us to continue that conversation because we are in an election year, and you have a lot of wisdom to share.
Thank you. I'll be more than happy to speak my mind.
You're an attorney, you're an advocate for immigration and immigrants in general. So yes. This is a very important discussion. So we're going through this electoral process, and I know you recently had a press conference where you talked about some very pertinent issues. I want you to give us a little information about why you found it necessary to have that conference and what it was about.
Well, as you mentioned earlier, Pamela, this is a year when we're going to have very important national political elections. Obviously, across the board, we'll have elections in the states for state offices, for county positions, as well as the city. But the most important ones, without any doubt whatsoever, are going to be at the national level. We're going to have presidential elections, and we now know that officially we have the Democratic Party represented in a very historical moment. The party is represented by former Vice President Joseph Biden and current U.S. Senator Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris is very important and a very historical figure for a variety of reasons. The first one is that obviously she's a woman of color, and most importantly, over and beyond the fact that she's a woman of color, she represents a variety of nationalities and continents. As a woman of color, obviously, she represents Africa because her father, although Latino from the Caribbean, the country of Jamaica, and Jamaica is in Latin America, English-speaking country, former colony of England. That's why they speak English there. So she's Latina of an English-speaking Latin country, and then her father originated in Africa, so she represents both the Americas, Latin America, and of course Africa, and then Asia in India, because her mother hails from India. So she represents all of us. That's what I'm trying to say, and that's why it's so important that we all support Kamala Harris, and most importantly, former Vice President Joe Biden, who heads the ticket heading into the November 3rd election. So it's very important that all of us that are concerned about the direction the country has been going with the formula of President Donald Trump and Mike Pence, if we are concerned about that, we have to do all we can to vote for change and to make sure that change does happen. So now I'm going to answer your question directly. The reason why we found it necessary not just to go and have public demonstrations symbols of the Republican Party. But we also went the week before to the headquarters of the LA County Democratic Party, because we wanted to send a strong message to the Joseph Biden, Kamala Harris ticket, that we wanted to hear loud and clear a public commitment to comprehensive immigration reform with a path to citizenship. I believe that that is very important because although we are Democrats, I believe that you and I are Democrats, and many other people are as well. We can't simply believe that changing which party governs from the White House, that in itself is not good enough. We all remember what happened in 2008 to 2016 when another Democrat, a progressive Democrat, President Barack Obama and Joseph Biden were in the White House. They promised that there would be comprehensive immigration reform with a path to citizenship. When they first went into office for the first 2 years, they had absolute majorities in the Senate and in the House. They could have passed any legislation, but the Barack Obama administration made a mistake. He said he wanted bipartisan support for policies like immigration reform, and so he took that decision, and we advised against it. We said that extremist Republicans would never change their mind about collaborating and working with Democrats, that they had gotten into an extreme position, an extreme view of what's going on in politics today, and that they would do their very utmost to do any work necessary to make the Barack Obama, Joseph Biden presidency bad, to make them fail at anything that matters from succeeding. And that's exactly what happened. So now we're being told that that's why we need to do all we can to win control of Congress, so that what happened between 2008 and 2016 is not repeated. And we need to take that very, very seriously so that we can hold Joseph Biden and our Senator Kamala Harris accountable. And now we know that Kamala Harris is very progressive, very pro-immigrant because of her immigrant background as well, or recent immigrant background. And the fact that when she went to high school, her and her mother relocated to Montreal in Canada. So she lived as an immigrant there. And so she understands that dynamic. So we're very hopeful that they will come through, but we have to hold them accountable. So we went to the county Democratic Party, not to attack them, but to simply remind them that we had a precedent that we don't want it to be repeated. And that is that when you have power, you start playing games that, you want everybody to come together and be bipartisan and all that, when what you have on the Republican side are a bunch of extremists that have decided that we can no longer have in this country of immigrants from third world nations. And as we saw on the Republican convention, National Convention, the message that I got and that we should have all gotten when Donald Trump's wife, Melania Trump, spoke, she's an immigrant, heavy accent, from Slovenia, but that's the immigrant that they want. That message should be clear. They don't want anybody that's dark skinned from any third world nation. They want immigrants from Germany, from France, from England, from the Scandinavian countries, from Australia. They want white immigrants. They don't want immigrants of color. And so the message is clear. So we're not going to be able to really count on getting significant political support from Republicans especially on an issue like immigration reform that has already taken over 3 decades, and we're still struggling, to reform and fix our broken immigration system. So last week, we went to the federal building to basically tell the world that we're very concerned about Donald Trump and Mike Pence, because this administration is the administration that has lied the most to the American people and the world. And that's why this administration is being dubbed Donald Trump, the liar in chief, because he's lied more than anybody else. And on top of it, he's insulted our collective dignity as immigrants, and we need to get rid of him right away. We didn't even go ask him to consider giving us any kind of immigration legal relief, because it's a waste of time. And the most recent example of what I'm talking about is that on July the 10th, soon after he met with Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, to the surprise of a lot of us in the United States, he gave an exclusive media interview, news interview, to Jose Diaz-Balart, who's an anchor with Telemundo's national newscast. Telemundo belongs to NBC Universal, and at that exclusive interview, he promised that in 30 days or less from that day, from July 10th, he would present a plan to basically legalize the Dreamers and others. We assume he meant essential workers. So he filled a lot of us with expectation that he was going to break with his anti-immigrant past and present something constructive. Instead, what he did is that in complete disregard of federal judges' orders to continue implementing the DACA program for the Dreamers and to open it up to first-time applicants, he shut down completely any possibility the new DACA applications would be accepted. And of those DACA beneficiaries who do have protection as we speak, he cut the duration of the protection from 2 years to 1 year, while at the same time charging them, the full amount to renew their DACA cards. So, that was cruel. It was a complete betrayal of the expectations that Donald Trump had raised on July 10th. And for that reason, when we had our action last week in front of the federal building, which is a symbol of federal power, that's why we did it there. We didn't go there to even think that we could get anything for Donald Trump, to advance the immigrant rights agenda in this country. We simply went to tell the world that there's no hope for constructive, progressive immigration reform in the United States, as long as a supporter of white supremacists like the president continues to occupy the White House.
Thank you so much, Juan Jose. So let me ask you real quick. You already summarized it, and your press conference press release to me was the president is a liar in chief. And you've so succinctly outlined why you call him a liar in chief. However, some people say that he's helped them economically, immigrants included. So what do you say to them?
Well, again, this president has lied to us for the last 4+ years. He's degraded us. Let us not forget that when he first announced his candidacy to be the banner bearer of the Republican Party, he did it by announcing all-out war against immigrants, and he specifically singled Mexican immigrants, who he called rapists and gangsters and the worst scum of the earth, as a basis to agitate what would become his political base. Now, having said that, that kind of behavior has continued for the last almost 4 years that he's been president of the United States. He's never changed his racist, inhuman message against immigrants. And when he says to the people, again, lying to us, very good. I mean, he had the gall to say that no president in the history of the United States, other than perhaps the great president Abraham Lincoln, has done more for African Americans than he has. And then he took it a step further and said that no one has benefited in this economy more than African Americans and Latinos, or Hispanics as he calls us. The sad fact is that on June 1st of this year, we wrote him a letter. I wrote him a letter along with nearly 200 other immigrant rights leaders from throughout the United States. We wrote this letter to President Donald Trump, and we asked them that in light of the national emergency that was created by the COVID-19 pandemic and his announcement on April 28th, that using emergency powers, he was ordering meat workers, okay, people working in meat packing companies across the United States, that they had to go back to work because at that time there had been, a whole host of individuals getting contaminated with the coronavirus, and there were a significant number of people that died. And so some of the biggest companies in the meatpacking industry were talking seriously about shutting operations down because they were afraid of incurring legal liability because their workers were getting ill all the time. And President Donald Trump went and said, no, meat is an essential component of the American infrastructure, meaning the economy. And so using his emergency powers, he directed that under no circumstances should production in meat processing stop. So we took that to mean that for the first time, the President of the United States was admitting that contrary to what he had been saying for over 4 years, that immigrants, were rapists and the worst of this country. He was finally realizing, forced by emergency circumstances, meaning the coronavirus, that immigrants were essential to the economy. Yeah. And we took that and we say, okay, so we're gonna call you on it. We would like you to offer legal relief to essential workers, meaning farm workers, who are cultivating the fields, providing us with the food that we need to stay alive, meat packers, and people working in the health industry, where it is reported, depending on who you want to believe, that there are 4 to 6 million foreigners, people born outside of the United States. So you add them all up, farm workers, meat packers, and people working in the health field, we're talking about 5-6 million people. And so we figure, why not grant them temporary protected status? Already 26 countries have been allowed to win TPS protections for their citizens, right? And the reason why we went that route and asked President Donald Trump to grant a temporary protected status to essential workers, like the ones I just described, is because we know that trying to go through Congress is a practical impossibility. But TPS had already been legislated by the Congress in the 1990s. And when Congress passed that legislation and the president signed it into law, it was President George Bush Sr. The law's already there. So the president has the absolute authority based on a national emergency or an emergency of any type to grant that legal protection to anybody, right, from any country. And it's never been done where, because of a national emergency, you grant TPS to foreign-born individuals who happen to be undocumented. But given that the country is facing a national emergency, and given that food is it's a strategic area of the economy, we thought that the president showing goodwill would be more than politically justified had he been willing to extend that protection, as has been the case for nationals from 26 other nations, right? But of course, but of course, to date, it hasn't happened. And then, of course, we all thought, well, maybe he is going to pay attention to our request because of his meeting with Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, and the fact that he made, that important announcement on July 10th, 2 days after his meeting with the President of Mexico. And then, of course, you know what happened. I described that already. He went after the DACA people. So that means that he's going to do everything he can, just as he did 4 years ago, to go after immigrants, to agitate his base and win votes. And that's why he had the gall during the National Republican Convention to go through this farce of having a ceremony where he naturalized, in violation of federal law, 4 or 6 individuals, I forget, because he's not a judge. The president of the United States cannot swear as citizens, naturalization applicants. Only a federal judge can do that. And he did that. And of course, as we now know, some of the people that got their citizenship certificates that night weren't even told that they were going to do a prop.
Yes. So
to benefit Donald Trump. Yes. So that's what I have to say about that.
There's so much more to talk about. We're going to have to continue this conversation, but I want you to give a few words encouraging immigrants what they need to know when they go out to vote, and why it's important that they pay attention to all the levels of the process in terms of, whether it's the councilman to the president, why it's important to participate and how these are all interlinked, in a few words.
Well, in California, we're fortunate that every single registered voter is going to be getting a ballot on the mail, to vote by mail. Now, of course, they still have the option to go on election day and vote. But what we're advocating presently is that anybody that gets, or when they get that ballot in, they should immediately fill it out with who they want to vote for and send it right in, because we need to make sure that we vote like never before. And many people don't vote because they're lazy, they forget to vote, they're not interested. But this is the most important election of our lifetime. And so anybody that's paying attention to what's going on in the country right now with coronavirus, immigration reform, and so on, I think has an obligation, especially immigrants, to vote like never before. And as soon as you get, your ballot, fill it out. Ask for help if you don't know all the issues about propositions, who the candidates are, and who you should vote for. But hopefully, that's as we intend to do, and tell others to do the same, and mail your ballot in, because it's just as simple as paying a bill. Sit at the coffee table, fill it out, and send it in. Because if you don't send it in, it's a vote wasted, and the same should be done across the country.
Thank you so much, Juan Jose. We can't afford to take this election for granted. And I know that you hold everybody accountable, whether they're Democrat or Republican. That's what I like about you. And I can't wait to have you back. We have from now till November and beyond. We will be having more conversations about the process, and so much to educate our folks. So have a wonderful day, and let's talk again.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome, and stay blessed. Bye.
Thank you. It was good to participate.
Always a pleasure. We've come to the end of our show. Thank you so very much for joining me today. I would love to hear what you think about our discussion. So please share your thoughts in our comment section, or send me an email to publisher@immigrantmagazine.com. Now be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram @Anchang, and like us on Facebook, The Immigrant Magazine. See you next time on The Immigrant Magazine Weekly.